Dear friends, welcome all of you to this special lecture on modern ecumenical movement. Modern ecumenical movement. When you are thinking about ecumenism, we have to understand some preliminary concepts, a basic discourse, or introductory comments. What do you mean by ecumenism? What do you mean by ecumenical movement? What is the purpose of ecumenism? Who is the real author of ecumenism? I have to say that ecumenism begins with God. When we come to the Garden of Eden, we can see a classical demonstration of the ecumenism, I mean unity. There we can see a vertical and horizontal dimensions of the unity. So ecumenism is always standing for unity. Unity means the holistic unity, the perfect unity. God is the author of unity. So the very unity, the fellowship, the togetherness, the oneness, the amalgamation of all segments are demonstrated in the Garden of Eden. So unity, fellowship means not simply a gathering, a vertical and horizontal unity. Unity of all human beings. Unity of humanity with the animal world. Humanity with the vegetable world. Humanity with unity of humanity with the divine world. So a vertical and horizontal relationship, a fellowship, togetherness. So ecumenism designs and advocates an optimum fellowship in which all sort of embodiments, sectarianism, bifurcations, divisions, antagonism, animosity, all things are gone. So what is the prototype or what is the archetype of our unity? Already I said that ecumenism begins with God. The Holy Trinity itself is a classical economy of the ecumenism or unity. So God is the ultimate model and source of unity. The perfect combination, the unity between Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is a classical illustration of the unity. So the ultimately unity between the creator and the whole creation, which is depicted in the prologue of the Genesis chapter 1 following. It is an optimum manifestation of the unity or ecumenism. The fall of man or humanity, the sin and its aftermath causes the divisions. We can understand that diversity is beautiful, but division is not so beautiful. It is a sin. We are also living in a world of diversity. Diversity is appreciable. It is beautiful. When diversities are leading to division, that is harmful to humanity. So the very purpose of ecumenism is unity, fellowship, togetherness, oneness. The whole inhabited people are living together without any hatredness or animosity or atrocities, perfect unity. So the unity of human world with the zoological world, or botanical words, even with the divine words, is the perfect, the example of the ecumenism. But come to the modern ecumenism. Modern ecumenical movement started in the 20th century. Modern ecumenical movement started in the 20th century. So if we go back, if we go, do a retrospective journey into the history, we can understand that Renaissance gave birth to Reformation. Reformation is known as the child of Renaissance. Then come to the Renaissance gave birth to Reformation. Reformation leads to unity in a mission, revival. Revival leads to mission. Mission leads to unity. So 13th to 14th century Renaissance gave birth to the 16th century Reformation. 16th century Reformation gave way to the 17th, 18th centuries of revival. That revival made the crystallization of mission, foreign missions, Afro-Asian nations missions, and mission leads to the churches, and ecumenism is taking place. So 20th century, 19th century is a century of mission, 20th century is a century of ecumenical movement. So the very background of ecumenical movement, we need to trace out from Reformation up to the 19th century. So 19th century constitutes the very background of modern ecumenical movement. And in one sense, we can say that ecumenical movement is the child of modern missionary movement. Ecumenical movement is nothing but the offshoot or aftermath or the child of modern missionary movement. Ecumenical movement was born and brought up. The embryonic form of ecumenism was born and brought up in the mission field, in the local level, in the city level, in the regional level. For example, if you are saying about India, South Indian, North Indian, All Indian Conference, finally it culminated in the 1910 Edinburgh Conference, which is known as the birthplace of modern ecumenical movement. My dear friends, we have to analyze that. What is the background of ecumenical movement? Up to this time, I am trying to say that ecumenical movement, the crystallization of ecumenical movement, the historical manifestation of the ecumenical movement started in the 20th century, especially the 1910 Edinburgh Conference. So, an ecumenical movement begins with God, continued in the pages of history. Finally, it became a reality in the 20th century. So, it is the offshoot of the modern missionary movement. Missionary movement. Let us see what is the background of modern ecumenical movement. What is the background of modern ecumenical movement? The general or wider background of modern ecumenical movement starts from the Renaissance, Reformation, Luther, revival movement, unity, all of the things, we already said it. One sense we can say that there are some sort of ecumenical trajectories in the mainline churches. But modern ecumenical movement started mainly as an offshoot of the Protestant mission. So what led to the emergence of modern ecumenical movement? Number one, colonialism. So the Protestant mission came to Afro-Asian nations under the colonial flag. So colonialism commenced with the motivation of the geographical discoveries and industrial revolution, caused the Western people to reach the Afro-Asian nations in order to do their colonial enterprises. So based on this colonial powers, many of the Protestant mission organizations came into existence. When the people read the Bible, they could, because of the translation of the John Wycliffe, Granmo Savonarola, as well as the contribution of Lollards, they circulated the Bible to the people and they read the Bible and they could understand that the Great Commission, the second coming, If the second coming want to be a reality, the gospel should reach into the whole world. Unless and until fulfilling the Great Commission, it is very difficult. It is an utopian idea. It is a mirage to have the Great Commission. So, the Protestant missionary organizations were formed in the Western world, and they sent these mission agencies into the Afro-Asian nations where the Western colonialism has rooted. So, the Reformation made the scripture available to the people. Reading, preaching the scripture leads to revival. That leads to the Anglo-American revivals, great evangelical revivals, first great awakening, second great awakening. All these things, contributed for the formation of missionary movement. So are you getting what the trajectories? Renaissance caused the Reformation. Reformation brought popularized the Bible. By reading and meditating the Bible, leading the preaching. Preaching leads to the revivals. For example, the evangelical awakening, great awakening, the first great awakening in Britain and 13 colonies in between 1730 to 1740 or in the 18th century, led by the Jonathan Edwards and the team, contributed for the expansion of the revival teachings and mission teachings in the whole Western world. The second great awakening is also very important. That happened in America in between 1790 to second great awakening happened in 1790 to 1840. That is in the 18th and 19th century. That happened in America, led by Charles Finney and the team. So all these great awakenings, Pietism is there, Moravian mission movement is there. So missionary revivals in the Western world, like Pietism, Moravian, missions, first great awakening, second great awakening. So the 18th and 19th centuries, that kind of revivals. All these revivals led to the great passion for mission. German Pietism is a great boosting for our mission. So my point is, the ecumenical movement is a child of missionary movement. Missionary movement emanated because of the revivals. Revival was initiated by the Reformation. So we can see the missionary awakening in the Western world. That is one of the motivating factor for the formation of missionary organization. Later they came into the Afro-Asian nations, in order to lay the foundation for modern ecumenical movement. Next comment we want to say that formation of missionary organizations. Formation of missionary evangelical awakening is the first one. The next one is the formation of missionary organization or societies, or world missionary societies were formed. That's one of the very important background of modern ecumenical movement. We have to understand which are the major ecumenical the modern missionary movements which originated in the Western world. And let me read the name and the year. Maybe year may be different based on the different books, maybe different. But just to enumerate the important missionary organization. Number one, SPCK. That means Society for Propagating Christian Knowledge, which happened, in 1678 to 79 or 17th century. SPCK. Next one was next important missionary society or organization is SPG, Society for Propagating Gospel. That started in 1701, that is in the 18th century. So 17th century SPCK, 18th century SPG. Next one is, next 18th century mission society is Danish Mission. Danish Mission Society. Danish Mission, you know that the first Protestant mission is also emanating from that group. Next 18th century missionary society is Baptist Missionary Society. Baptist Missionary Society. It is shortly known as BMS, Baptist Missionary Society, which formed in 1729. Next missionary organization formed in the Western world in order to do the foreign mission is London Mission Society, LMS, London Mission Society, which happened in 1795. Next missionary organization is CMS. That happened in 1790. Next one is Bible Society, 1804. Next one is American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Mission. American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Mission. That happened in, emanated in or manifested in 1810, formed in 1810. Next important world missionary society was American Baptist Missionary Union. American Baptist Missionary Union, 1840. Next one is Basel Evangelical Missionary Society. Basel Evangelical Missionary Society. Another important missionary society formed in order to expand the gospel to the whole world is the Basel Evangelical Mission Society. Next one is China Inland Mission. China Inland Mission, pioneered by the Hudson Taylor, you know that stories, in 1865. These are the select missionary societies formed in the Western world in order to propagate the mission. If there is no mission, there is no church. If there is no church, there is no believer. So in order to do the mission, in order to fulfill the Great Commission, these 10 to 12 or more missionary societies were formed, and they sent it to the to this world. All based on this missionary society, Kenneth Scott Latour, or K.S. Latour, called the 19th century as a great century. 19th century as a great century. Mahattaya നൂറ്റാണ്ടെന്നാണ് സഭാചരിത്രത്തിന്റെ അധിഗ്ര ശ്രേണിയിൽ നിൽക്കുന്ന പണ്ഡിത ശ്രേണിയിൽ നിൽക്കുന്ന കെന്നത്ത് സ്കോട്ട് ലാറ്റർ പറയുന്നത്. 19ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ട് മഹാ ഒരു വലിയ നൂറ്റാണ്ടാണ്, ഗ്രേറ്റ് സെഞ്ചുറിയാണ്. Why? Because lot of missionary societies and organizations were formed in the Western world, and under the auspices of colonial rule, they came to this place. So all these organizations are Protestant mission organization. Already said that even the modern missionary movement, if you study the right trajectory of modern missionary movement or modern ecumenical movement, we are biased towards the Protestant movement. Reformation, such a trajectory we can all these missionary organizations are Protestant missionary organizations. Of course, the Lutherans, Presbyterian, Calvinist, Methodists, there are a lot of trajectories under the Protestantism that we will discuss later. But all these Protestant mission organizations were formed as a result of the revival initiated by the Reformation. All these mission organizations. That's why somebody commented that the Protestant mission came to Afro-Asian nations under the British or Western colonial flag. So these organizations came. So two important facts. Ecumenism always begins with God, always there. If God is the source of all unity, when we are saying about unity, federal unity, organic unity, conciliar unity, all these unities we can see in the Garden of Eden, or I think the sin is the main reason for the division in the society. In the Garden of Eden, we can see the diversities. Diversity is not sin, but the division is sin. The main cause of division is the sin. And we lost the relationship. So after the fall of man, the vertical and horizontal relationships were is lost. That society is a web of relationship. The ethnic society is having the priest in the societies have a web of relationship. That relationship is vertical and horizontal, man to man, man to woman, man to animal, man to the plant, the trees and all of the things. So vertical and horizontal, a perfect harmony you can see there, but that's lost. In order to make in order to mission and ecumenism are Siamese twins. And we can say that in order to do the mission, in order to have that, a perfect harmony, God again sent one missionary, that is Jesus. And when he came to here and he prayed, Lord, as we are one, let them be also one in us. So that is the Magna Carta of ecumenical movement. So ecumenical movement, the Godhead, the perfect ecumenism, unity, fellowship is there. After the fall, the relationship between man and God is lost. Again, in order to rebuild, in order to make a bridge building process, God sent his son, Jesus, in order to do mission and perfect unity between vertical and horizontal. So ecumenical movement, a wider ecumenical movement means a vertical and horizontal relation with God. All creations are uniting together with God. Yeah. So second important is the next important thing is formation of interdenominational youth and voluntary organization. So another important segment which facilitated, which contributed, which caused for the enhancement of modern ecumenical movement or the crystallization of modern ecumenical movement is the formation of international missionary or youth and voluntary organization, which are the youth, they are not bothered about this kind of parochial and narrow aversion among them. They have a broad mind. They have a broad mind. Especially you people also, young people, you don't have any parochial or rigid or narrow outlook. You have a broad outlook, because of the theological education, our head want to become very less and head want to become very big. So youth people, young people, theological people, always they have a broad vision. So they are not having any parochial, theological or denominational boundaries. It is a very wider community, we can say. So the formation of interdenominational youth and voluntary movements contributed for the realization of the modern ecumenical. Which are the organizations? Number one is Young Men Christian Association, YMCA, Young Men Christian Association, which was founded in 1844 in England. Next one is Young Women Christian Association, YWCA, which formed in America 1872. Next one, SCM, Student Christian Movement. Next one, SVM, Student Voluntary Movement, started in 1866 with a slogan, evangelization of the word in this generation. Evangelization or mission of this word in this generation, with such a motto, such a benchmark, such a slogan, such a maxim, SVM, SCM started. All these are doing a preparation for mission and subsequent ecumenical movement. Next one is World Sunday School Association, which started in 1907. Next, another movement is the World Student Christian Federation. World Student Christian Federation, which happened in 1895. This organization, what is the efficacy, what is the use, what is the result, what is the service, what is the contribution of these interdenominational youth and voluntary movements? Number one is that, the most important thing, it created a ecumenical working chemistry. It created a ecumenical climate. It created a ecumenical landscape. It created a ecumenical thought world. It created a pax ecumenism, pax ecumenical. And that means, it prepared a fullness of time. It prepared a fullness of time for the upcoming ecumenical movement. And also it promoted, it trained and promoted a galaxy of ecumenical leaders. Now, leaders of the movement. For example, from India itself, Bishop V.S. Asraya, who made a thunder-like performance, a short and sweet and a powerful message in the 1810 conference. That was a very landmark and a milestone, epoch-making sermon from India. So Bishop V.S. Asraya, Nathan Soderblom, then J. Chodham, Archbishop William Temple, M.M. Thomas, then lot of people are there. All the ecumenical leaders, modern ecumenical leaders, are born and brought up under the auspicious or in the garden of these interdenominational youth and voluntary organization. So that was one of the. So what said number one is the colonialism and subsequent mission. Then the evangelical awakenings in the Western world. Evangelical awakening caused for the formation of World Missionary Organization. Along with this World Missionary Organization, non-denomination, interdenomination, voluntary movements, which is beyond the parochial boundaries of the denomination, theological disparities and divergence. This is a very ecumenical, embryonic, liquid ecumenical climate, working chemistry, all other things were started with this missionary organization. Friends, are you getting what we are doing is simply doing the background of a modern ecumenical movement. Next one is world. These are the important background we have to come to this formation. Next one is World Missionary Conferences. World Missionary Conferences. You know that all these missionary. Just cut it. So we can see next important segment for the emanation, the manifestation, the evolution, or the crystallization of modern ecumenical movement is World Missionary Conferences. World Missionary Conferences. Already said that ecumenical movement is a child of missionary movement, and ecumenism born in the mission field. So we can see that modern ecumenical movement took its birth in the mission field. More exclusively, it took its manifestation in the missionary conferences. So missionary conferences is another important segment which facilitated, which contributed, which made the fertile land for the evolution of the modern ecumenical movement. So when we are thinking about the missionary conferences, we have to local level missionary conferences. Second one is city level missionary conferences, regional missionary conferences. Next one is international missionary conferences. So various missionaries conferences from local level to the regional or continental level, all this came to a culmination in the 1910 World Missionary Conference. So the World Missionary Conference background, all the missionary conference, right from the local missionary field to the regional, national, up to continental, up to the World Mission 1910 Conference, all these contributed for the evolution of modern ecumenical movement. So any discussion on the missionary conference should commence with William Carey. You know that William Carey is the father of modern mission. He can also attributed as the father of modern missionary movement. In one sense, he can also called as the pioneering stalwart, pioneer or stalwart or trailblazers of the modern ecumenical movement. So William Carey, and he possessed a world, he proposed that, a world missionary conference after every 10 years, a decennial interdenominational world conferences, missionary conferences, should start to keep up Christian or church or missionary unity and the, and he said that the first one should should take place at Cape of Good Hope in South Africa in 1810. He is the William Carey. He was a very visionary man. Not only he is a missionary, but he is a visionary man. And he said that, once in a tenure, we have to, all the missionary people should sit together, live together, and we have to discuss the challenge and possibilities and the do's and don'ts, all of the, but that was a big idea. Then people can't comprehend and apprehend that, accommodate that comment. It took around 1 century to adopt that one. Exactly. William Carey said that 1810 should be the first World Missionary Conference. But then people, Andrew Fuller and such people said that Carey, it is only a pleasing dream. It would never happen. Do you think that all the denomination people will sit together? All the different national missionary organizations will come together? Because sheep stealing is there, principle of committee is there, national difference are there, political and antagonism and lot of impediments are Carey. It won't happen. What do you think that you are a daydreamer? It will never happen. But exactly after 1 century later, 1910, the World Missionary Conference, the vision, the passion, and the dream, and the anticipation, and the speculation, all of the things became a reality in the Edinburgh Conference. So, missionary conference is a very important segment, a contributory factor for the development of modern ecumenical movement. And we can see that, a lot of missionary societies and organizations were conducted. For example, New York Missionary Conference of 1854, New York Missionary Conference of 1854. Next one, Liverpool Missionary Conference of 1860. London Missionary Conference of 1877, New York Missionary Conference of 1900, etc. are the few international missionary conferences. Of course, we don't have time to discuss all the local missionary conference, city level missionary conference, regional level missionary conference, national level missionary conference. These are the such a missionary conference were culminated in the international missionary conferences, prior to the 19th conference, intercontinental conferences. Which are they? Number one is New York Missionary Conference of 1854, Liverpool Missionary Conference of 1860, London Missionary Conference of 1877, and New York Missionary Conference of 1900. These are the intercontinental, a junior international missionary conference were held. All these conferences are a preparation or doing the groundwork for the manifestation, for the inauguration or the crystallization of modern ecumenical movement in 1910. So ecumenism is a child of modern missionary movement. That embryon was sold in the mission field, local mission field, developed into a city level, developed into a region level, developed into a national level, continental level, intercontinental level. Like that, it is a sprung, it is a enhancing result. For example, being an Indian people, we should think what are the basic important missionary conferences were held in India as a part of this missionary conference. What is our updates? What is the history and saga of our missionary conference connected with the Protestant mission? Number one is that Calcutta Missionary Conference of 1855. Calcutta Missionary Conference of 1855. There are a lot of local then city level conferences are held, but we are not availing the time to discuss all of the things, but what are the regional conferences or what are the national conferences? So we can see that some of the North Indian missionary conference. Number one is Calcutta Missionary Conference of 1855. Second North Indian Missionary Regional Conference is Lahore Missionary Conference of 1862. Then what are these are the two important, I'm not dealing all this important one. These are the two important, Calcutta and Lahore Missionary Conference. And next one, what is the regional conference in South India? What are the important regional missionary conference which held in South India? Number one is Uttakamand Missionary Conference. Uttakamand Missionary Conference, 1858. Second one is Bangalore Missionary Conference, 1879. Next one, Madras Missionary Conference, 1890. These are the important regional, two North Indian, two, three South Indian, so five. These are the important examples of the region. Which are the important national missionary con? National means, which are the national decennial, 10 years gap, decennial missionary conference. Number one is Allahabad Missionary Conference of 1872 to 73. All the people, all the missionaries doing hard work in the mission field in the Christmas season and the New Year season, they will go to some